Peace be still. This is Tosha, and you're tuning into the Supernova Tosha Show podcast, the show that addresses social issues and how it affects our community. And today we are going to be discussing the president of Burkina Faso. His name is Ibrahim Traore. So you may have noticed that a growing wave of solidarity among African nations, their leaders, and the people extending even to the Caribbean islands and beyond. He is all over the news. He's trending. He's on social media. He's on every news station from Africa to anywhere. He is the man. Well, anyway, the global support has been particularly strong for the president of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore. If you're not yet familiar with him, it's time that you got acquainted with the man I like to call the $6 million man. Now, he has survived multiple assassination attempts, almost as if he possesses a kind of a superhuman instinct, like a sixth sense that keeps him one step ahead of the enemy. What truly sets him apart, though, is his bold stance against the influence and control of Western powers that have historically exploited the African nations. Now, while many leaders have bent under that pressure, President Traore is actively breaking those chains. Burkina Faso is fortunate to have inherited such a fearless, proud, and dignified leader, and I'm excited to share a glimpse of who he is. So take a moment and watch this short clip and learn about President Captain Ibrahim Traore.
In the heart of West Africa, a quiet revolution is taking shape, one that may redefine how a nation taps into its golden wealth. Burkina Faso, a country long known for its rich gold deposits and troubled political landscape, has launched an ambitious push to nationalize more of its industrial mining sector. And if Prime Minister Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo's latest announcement is any indication, this is only the beginning. In a nationally televised speech earlier this week, the Prime Minister declared that the country will expand state control over foreign-owned mines, reclaiming what he described as the people's wealth. His words echoed across the Sahel and into international markets, unsettling foreign investors but thrilling citizens who have long watched billions of dollars in gold leave the country with little to show for it. Ouedraogo said that the country should see more of the benefits of mining in Burkina Faso, not just the consequences that the population suffers. At the center of this shift is SOPAMIP, Société de Participation Minière du Burkina, a newly created state-owned mining enterprise tasked with acquiring stakes in strategic mining projects. In just months, SOPAMIP has already taken control of two major industrial gold mines, Boungou and Wahgnion, previously owned by London-listed Endeavour Mining. At the heart of this push is gold. Gold prices have skyrocketed over 25% this year, driven by geopolitical volatility and unpredictable trade policies under U.S. President Donald Trump. For a country sitting atop an estimated 70-plus tons of annual gold potential, the math is simple. Sovereignty equals revenue. Despite grappling with a brutal Islamist insurgency since 2015, Burkina Faso produced over 57 tons of gold in 2023, making mining one of its most vital economic engines. Yet much of that wealth has historically flowed to foreign companies, with Canada's IAMGOLD and Australia's West African resources limited among the top players. But that era may be ending. Last year, the country rewrote its mining code, putting local suppliers and Burkina the expertise at the forefront. The new legislation not only empowered SOPAMIP, but introduced incentives for artisanal mining and mandated reinvestment into the economy. The government also announced the creation of Burkina Faso's first national gold reserve, a symbolic and strategic move to ensure long-term fiscal stability. A senior official close to the Prime Minister emphasized that the ongoing reforms go beyond mere economic changes, describing them as a broader pursuit of national pride. self-determination, and fairness. Burkina Faso's shift has drawn comparisons with fellow Sahelian states Mali and Niger, both of which have also pivoted away from Western influence in favor of partnerships with Russia and China. In fact, Burkina Faso recently granted a major industrial mining license to Russian firm Nordgold, signaling its openness to non-traditional alliances. This eastward turn is no accident. Following two military coups in 2022, the country's relationship with France and other Western nations deteriorated rapidly. Today, Russian flags are more common than French in some parts of Ouagadougou. Security cooperation and mineral partnerships with Moscow have filled the vacuum left by the West. For international investors, this bold nationalism is cause for concern. Several foreign companies are reportedly reevaluating their operations in Burkina Faso, wary of future expropriations and regulatory uncertainty. But for many Burkinabe citizens, it's a welcome change, one driven by necessity, not ideology. Ibrahim Traore, the leader of Burkina Faso, has embarked on a path of economic and political reforms aimed at restoring national sovereignty and reducing foreign influence. Notably, his administration has taken steps to nationalize key industries, including the mining sector, to ensure that the country's natural resources benefit its citizens. He has also fostered closer ties with non-Western nations, such as Russia, while distancing Burkina Faso from former colonial powers. Despite facing challenges, including ongoing security threats from jihadist insurgents and criticism over human rights concerns, Traore maintains significant domestic support. Mass rallies have demonstrated public backing for his leadership and policies, reflecting a populace eager for change and greater self-determination. Traore's tenure represents a significant shift in Burkina Faso's political landscape, as he seeks to redefine the nation's trajectory through assertive governance and a focus on national pride and autonomy. So, how far will Burkina Faso go? Will more resources be seized and nationalized? Will international arbitration slow the momentum? Or will this resource nationalism spark a domino effect across Africa's mineral-rich yet revenue-starved nations? Your perspective matters. What do you make of Burkina Faso's move?
All right. I hope that you all have learned something, become familiar with him, because he's definitely under the watchful eyes of everyone at this point. So there's a U.S. General Michael Langley. Boo! So Michael Langley, he is the head of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM. So he has publicly accused Burkina Faso's president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, of misusing the nation's gold reserves to bolster his regime's security rather than benefiting the Burkina people. During an April 3rd, 2025 testimony before the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee, Langley expressed concern over Traore's governance, suggesting that his actions pose a threat to the U.S. interest in the nation. First and foremost, Langley, United States, France, you no longer have any interest in Burkina Faso. So whatever he does in his country, see your way out. So there have been rumors that social media discussions about potential U.S. intentions to arrest or even harm President Traore. So basically, there has been some speculation, some things going on social media that Langley was trying to gain access to Ivory Coast, to stay in the Ivory Coast, because apparently there was some plan to take out Captain Traore, like take him out. But I believe the Ivory Coast had told him, you're not welcome here. So, and it's about time. You know, this reminds me of when the United States was trying to assassinate Dr. Martin Luther King. The first attempt was they sent a Black woman, and she, went in with a knife. He was stabbed, but it wasn't fatal. And then the second assassination on Martin Luther King, well, from what I read, Jesse Jackson was present. So I don't know if he had anything to do with it. Did he lure him there? Whatever. But you kind of get what I'm hinting at here. There's always a sample, right? So anyway, in response to General Langley's accusations, President Traore has maintained a defiant stance, emphasizing his commitment to Burkina Faso's sovereignty and his willingness to defend his nation against external pressures. He has also drawn parallels between his leadership and the Pan-Africanist ideals of former Burkina leader Thomas Sankara. We are observers, so we continue to monitor developing closely even the strategic importance of Burkina Faso in West Africa's geopolitics. Now, I don't know if you've all seen the personal invite by the President of the United States. For some reason, I did a podcast on him. I guess because his name was on there, it's no longer available. You can't see it. And I'm not bashing. Like, I usually don't bash. I try to give my unbiased reactions, but I can't find my podcast. So I guess they took it down. So I will not be saying his name. I'll just say the President of the United States. So I don't know if it's AI. Some people say it's AI. I don't know what to believe anymore. But the President of the United States was seen on social media extending a heartfelt welcome to the United States. And Captain Traore said, basically, get somebody else to do it because I'm busy over here taking care of my citizens. What are you doing? So anyway, Captain Ibrahim Traore has garnered significant backing from Russia, which has emerged as a key strategic ally. In response to perceived neo-colonial influences from Western nations, particularly France and the United States, Russia has increased its military support to Burkina Faso, including the deployment of instructors and the provisions of military equipment. And Russian foreign minister states that Russia is ready to support African nations, steering to free themselves from neo-colonial influence. It's about time. Burkina Faso has pivoted away from Western influence. These include the expulsion of French troops and diplomats, the cessation of military agreements with France, and the strengthening ties with Russia through various sectors, notably defense and energy. It's a good look. This strategic partnership with Russia has been met with public support within Burkina Faso, as evidenced by rallies and demonstrations expressing solidarity with the Russian alliance and opposition to Western interference. The more I talk about this, the more I hear about this, all I keep hearing is the meek shall inherit the earth. This is what's going through my head. And I've often wondered, how is it colonizers, just how did everything happen? And it was just basically people, the whole, like, the continent of Africa. If you've ever sat down with people from Africa, they are some of the most warmest, most welcoming people. They're happy, even with the least that they have. They're just happy people. They welcome you. You just have to be down to earth. They're down to earth people. They like people to be down to earth, and that's it. They're very welcoming. And so, when you read manuscript and books, and when you listen to historians speak, and the one thing they'll say is that it's their welcoming approach and their willingness to share. And so when Westerners took that as weakness and they were able to manipulate and do what they did, and the rest is history. But Here comes our uh, Captain Ibrahim Traore, and he's not playing that anymore. So I personally do not believe that there is a corrupt bone in President Captain Ibrahim Traore's body at all. And I'm not alone in that belief. The entire nation across the globe have taken to the streets in support of him. So whatever narrative U.S. General Michael Langley may be pushing, that Traore is misusing Burkina Faso's gold resources to fund his extremist group, many of us firmly reject it. We see it as a false accusation, and we continue to stand with President Traore in solidarity. And no, I don't know him personally, and I know that media can skew information on one side, whether to be favorable to a person or non-favorable to a person. But at the end of the day, is night, of course. But I just want you to look at this video with me because I've been watching a lot of information on him, documentaries, docuseries, videos, news, anything at all that I can find on President Traore. And from what I see, there's no ulterior motive for him. You understand what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and roll this other video. Go ahead and take a look, take a listen, and just, you judge for yourself. Here we go.
Ibrahim Traore strongly criticized African presidents who appear content to accept handouts, specifically addressing President Vladimir Putin's announcement on July 27th, in which he pledged to send free grain to Africa. While expressing gratitude for the gesture, Ibrahim Traore seized the opportunity to convey a message to African heads of state. He emphasized the need for African leaders to prioritize achieving self-sufficiency in food production and supply for their people. Ibrahim Traore urged them to learn from the successes of other nations in attaining this goal, stressing that they should not attend the next forum without having taken concrete steps to ensure food security and self-sufficiency in their nations. His statements drew comparisons to the renowned Thomas Sankara, who expressed similar sentiments in the early 1980s when he assumed the presidency of Burkina Faso through a coup. Setting aside Ibrahim Traore's early life, let us now shift our focus to his achievements. It is an indisputable reality that Ibrahim Traore is amassing a substantial degree of trust and support within Burkina Faso and across the African continent compared to other African leaders. Just a few days prior, a multitude of citizens engaged in demonstrations advocating for an extension of Ibrahim Traore's transitional tenure, which was originally slated to conclude in July. Consequently, a recent charter has been ratified, permitting Burkina Faso's military leader to prolong their authority for an additional 5 years. This extension came subsequent to the endorsement of the new charter following national deliberations on Saturday, May 25, 2024. The deliberations, held in the capital city of Ouagadougou, involved representatives from civil society, security forces, and transitional legislators, although political parties had limited involvement in the process. Even after the signing of the new charter, many citizens were left unsettled. While decision-makers debated inside the conference hall about extending the transition, a group of impassioned youth gathered outside, fervently advocating for Captain Ibrahim Traore to lead Burkina Faso for the next 10 years. This fervent display of confidence in Ibrahim Traore's leadership underscores the deep-seated divisions and complexities in public sentiment regarding the nation's future trajectory. Ibrahim Traore has been recognized for his practical approach to political ideology. He has addressed a significant economic challenge in Burkina Faso by highlighting the absence of a domestic gold refinery. Despite the country's status as a major global gold supplier, miners in Burkina Faso were compelled to export raw ore to European countries for refining. In response to this issue, Ibrahim Traore has taken proactive steps to initiate the construction of a gold refinery within Burkina Faso. This strategic decision is expected to create numerous job opportunities and contribute to the overall economic prosperity of the country. President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso has spearheaded a series of impactful economic measures, including implementing substantial tax reductions and collaborating with the private sector to facilitate capital access for young entrepreneurs. Notably, Ibrahim Traore has introduced the innovative concept of popular shareholding, aimed at privatizing government assets and ventures to enable public investment in the nation's development. This initiative saw 20% of the government-owned telecommunications company offered for public purchase, resulting in a highly successful venture that generated $60 million in revenue for critical projects. President Ibrahim Traore has also demonstrated his commitment to fiscal responsibility by reducing the salaries of all government ministers and officials by 20%. Furthermore, he has declined a presidential salary, choosing instead to maintain his earnings at the level of a military captain, exemplifying his selfless dedication to serving his country. Ibrahim astounded journalists by asserting his commitment to defending his people's right to protest, even in the face of criticism of his own actions, emphasizing his role as a servant of the people. His unwavering declarations regarding the trust placed in him and his colleagues to protect the nation's future are a welcome departure from the prevailing attitudes among leaders in many African countries, where leaders often consider themselves as sovereigns and their citizens as subjects. In the current state of Burkina Faso's leadership, Captain Ibrahim Traore serves as the president, shouldering significant responsibilities during a critical period for the nation. Despite his prominent position, Captain Ibrahim Traore has maintained a remarkable level of discretion regarding his personal life, keeping it largely private from the public eye. While his professional endeavors and actions as a leader are well documented, there is currently no widely known or publicized information about his family or any romantic relationships. This low profile on personal matters has allowed him to concentrate on the task at hand and navigate the challenges of leadership with determination and focus. As the leader of Burkina Faso during this transitional phase, Captain Ibrahim Traore's primary focus is likely on steering the country towards stability, progress, and addressing the pressing issues faced by the nation. As of the current date, information regarding Captain Ibrahim Traore's net worth remains undisclosed.
Okay, and so I'm back. Great video. I have so many videos that I'm storing and I'm just watching and viewing and just listening to him speak. I listen to how he moves. I listen to how his diction, the care, the emphasis on his people, his country, and he's just stern. He just wants autonomy for his country. He wants, he wants to utilize the resources that they have in Africa to make their country rich, that they have in Burkina Faso to make their country rich, to make them self-sufficient. He's got cars. He's got self-driving cars. I mean, it's just, I could sit here for hours and go on and on about him, but I've really been watching a lot of information on him, and I'm really happy. I'm excited, and I'm really proud that everything is of what he's doing. So I'm, anything you can find on him, just read up about him, because I'm telling you, the future looks good for Burkina Faso. And I think the entire continent of Africa, they're going to, a lot of countries are going to be following suit. They're going to take a page out of his book, and they're going to unite. There's going to be unity and no more. It's just, oh gosh, I need to get my coins together so I can do some investing because trust me, there was even something that I read. I don't know if this is true because, again, with media, but it said something about France is no longer offering or taking away it's either they're not offering visas to anyone from Burkina Faso, or they're going to be taking away the visas from anyone from Burkina Faso, and then you must return to Burkina Faso. You must leave France. And he said the same thing. He was like, well, any one of your French people that are here, I will also do the same, and life goes on. God, he is not playing around. Well, several African nations have recently taken significant steps to reduce Western, particularly French influence, asserting greater sovereignty over their political, military, and economic affairs. And here are some notable examples. Number one, Somali and Niger. They have expelled French troops, and they've terminated defense agreements with France and strengthened ties with Russia, including military cooperation. I have to say that it's been years that I've heard Vladimir Putin, he's the Russian czar. I guess you can't criticize him either. He's the leader, president, whatever, leader of Russia. And he has for years, and it's not just now, he hasn't been jumping on this wave for years, have been saying how the British stole from Africa, and how Western nations have raped and pillaged the people of Africa, the countries in Africa, and that they're wrong. And he's always been an advocate, an ally of the African nations. So I don't know. I mean, he is former KGB. I don't know how much trust I have in him, but I like what he's saying. I don't know if I fall for it, but thus far, he hasn't made any significant threats against any countries or any other nations. All he says is that he is standing with Burkina Faso, and just if anybody interferes or tries to go to war with them, he too will be going to war. So, all right. Also, Senegal. Senegal has announced plans to end the presence of foreign troops on its soil by 2025, which we're currently in 2025. The Ivory Coast has also taken control of its last remaining French military base, with the majority of French troops having departed. And in my opinion, I believe with bold leadership of Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traore, a powerful ripple effect has been set in motion across the African continent. I am so happy. I am so happy. So his courage has inspired other nations to reclaim their sovereignty. Now, these developments represent a growing movement of political awakening and self-determination across Africa. And for decades, many African nations have maintained close ties with former colonial powers, particularly France and the broader Western alliance, relying on them for military support, economic aid, and strategic alliances. However, these relationships have often been criticized for perpetuating neo-colonial dynamics, where foreign interests continue to benefit disappropriately from African resources, labor, and geopolitical positioning, while offering limited tangible development in return. What we're doing, we are now witnessing a seismic shift. Yes, indeed. These countries are beginning to insist on local control over natural resources like gold, oil, and uranium, seeking fairer terms that benefit their citizens, and that it's not just beneficial for these Western countries that have been basically stealing and benefiting and getting rich off of the natural resources that these African countries have. So there you have it, folks. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. I love seeing this. Absolutely. So additionally, this wave of change is being fueled by a surge of national pride and grassroots mobilization. So you see, I'm not sure if you're able to view and see that there's a lot of protests happening. Um, People are saying that they stand with Ibrahim, they stand with Ibrahim. And I see this young man, he's humble. He has his wife, his kids. He's not living in the great big palace with the gold toilet seats and the marble floors and the marble bathtubs. And it's just it's just incredible. It's remarkable. And I'd like to say that I'm alive and I'm witnessing history. I'm witnessing history. I just remember being a kid in the 80s and 90s, and the only thing they showed you of Africa, it doesn't matter what country in Africa. It could be Ethiopia, it could be Eritrea, it could be anywhere. They purposely take you into the villages. Now you have to understand that village people live differently from people who are in the big cities, right? So a lot of the tribes in Africa, they choose to stay in their rural areas with their tribe, and they continue with their with their tribal um, customs and culture. And then there's the other side to Africa where they don't want to show you, where people are educated. They are, they hold 2, 3 master's degrees. They have a couple of doctorates degree, and they study at Oxford, and they study at Yale and Harvard, and they go back home. And matter of fact, they have universities there in Africa as well. And they don't show you that part of Africa. They want to show you you know grass roofs and mud huts, and that's not all that Africa brings. I have a few Africans in my life, and I got to tell you, the conversation sometimes, someone asked me today actually about the what portion of the equator today that where I live occupies, and I'm thinking, what? I was like, let me go back to middle school, high school. I was like, what? Oh, okay. No, 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 not where I live. And they were looking it up. Oh, you do not have that. You don't. That's right. And I'm like, why are you making me think? Why aren't we talking about something else? And then these conversations with equations and statistics, and yeah, if you've ever been around African people, they are amongst the most intellectual people that I've ever been around. And they really, they stretch you. They really stretch you. You have to think, you have to be articulate. Again, these people are the people that I hang around with. These people are holding several degrees and will just wrap you up in any conversations. And I love it. And they love where they're from. They're very proud of their heritage. They're proud of their culture. They're proud of everything. And they're just happy. They're happy to share. So I love the fact that all this coverage is coming out and is showing the most positive side of Africa and Africans and different countries in Africa, because people usually go, oh, Africa, as if Africa is just one big country. It's a continent. And then you have, 52, 54 countries of Africa. And they're all different. There's one country where there's snow, like South Africa. South Africa experiences snow. It's like, you're looking at Colorado or something. So everybody just thinks, oh, it's just hot, it's dry, it's this, it's that. But it just depends on where you go. You have different experiences. I love the fact that there are a lot of them speak so many different languages. They speak their dialect, like from Kenya, they can speak was it Swahili, and then they can turn around and speak French and English. And I love it. I love the fact that the media is covering it and they're getting so much exposure, and you get to see a great fearless leader like Ibrahim Traore. He's He's a breath of fresh air. I love it. Ultimately, this trend signals not just a political pivot, but a deeper cultural and psychological reclaimment of identity, agenda, and the right to self-govern. Africa is repositioning itself not as a passive recipient of foreign agendas, but as an equal player in global affairs. I love it. This is Africa. Oh my goodness. So my loyal family, the Supernova Tosha Show podcast can be heard on these apps such as Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn, or iHeartRadio. So make sure you tune in. The goal here is to be on the top 10 best podcast list to listen to, of course. And so please, I want you to share, subscribe, like, and talk about my channel. Talk about it, spread it, just share it and tell everybody to tune in. When you're cleaning, just go on Alexa or something and have her play my podcast while you're cleaning and listening to. You'll learn something. Trust me, spread the word. So I am grateful for your time today. I want to thank you so much for being attentive. I appreciate your presence. Be careful, be safe, and walk good. Peace be still.